Watcha, it's Emily here. With Paul and Alfie sitting in the big house and young creatives everywhere in despair, I decided I needed to step in and save the very last episode of Lockdown TV! We have a packed show for you with Gene Horton's Lego animation, Jamie Oliver's Pots and Pans, Anna talks musicals in the film review, Mark starts history section. We have an interview with the famous professional musician Tim Atkinson. There was a special canine book review, a look at Saffron Walden's famous carnival, Lockdown TV blooper reel, and much, much more. So stay tuned to Lockdown TV! Oh, okay. Okay. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hearing there has been some dramatic developments in the government versus Lockdown TV case, so we're going to go live to Saffron Walden Town Square.
Hear ye, hear ye. On the 23rd day of July, in the year of 2020, I hearten thee, come one, come all, gather round, in the manner of ye old social distancing, for the proclamation of Her Galactical Highness, the Right Honourable Mayor of Saffron Walden, Heather Asker.
Fate often saves the undoomed man if his courage is good, and so it is with the power vested in me that I declare a pardon for these prisoners of conscience. Paul Bellany, Alfred Wells, by the ancient order of the ostrich feather, I award each of you the freedom of Saffron Walden.
Ma'am, if I may be so bold, there was but 3 of us incarcerated.
What about the local musician and great friend of Lockdown TV, James White?
I'm sorry, his heinous crimes against music are not so easily forgiven.
As it is said, so shall it be done. In the name of the Lord above, Culinary Commander Jamie Oliver, Dame Sam of Smith, and the Right Honourable Gentleman of Rock, Sir Dennis of Stratton. May God protect all the inhabitants of Saffron Walden and villages therein, and all those who book early and come for the summer.
So, here we are.
Feels great to be back.
And I'm loving the new set
It's good,
too.
isn't it? I'm loving it, yeah. Thanks to everyone who kept the faith, and particularly to Amelie for keeping the show going.
Now, do you remember Gene Horton's Puppet TV section?
Fantastic.
Well, she's back with Space Jewel. Dave and Jim getting hot water over some intergalactic spillage.
Let's take a look.
So what you like about the moon? They sure do a good hot chocolate. Hey, you made me spill my hot chocolate. Once a year I get hot chocolate from the moon, once a year, and now you've made me spill it. This is the last straw. Prepare for a space duel. Ow, that really hurt. Ha 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 ha. You shall pay for what you did to my hot chocolate. Oh, will I activate fire mode? Let's call it a draw.
This month, we should have been celebrating another chapter in the colourful history of the Saffron Walden Carnival.
But a cough and a sneeze later, and the whole thing has been blown off the calendar for another year.
So, we've assembled an assortment of clips from carnival processions gone by, which illustrate just how much we love the carnival. He's a regular at Writer's Room.
And he was one of the stars of our zombie occupation film.
And he plays bass at Ferrycroft's Jam Night most weeks.
It's Finn Clements!
Whoa!
And he's here to tell us about his recent hair-raising experience.
Hi, my name's Finn Clements, and over the course of lockdown I decided to cut my hair. And it took a while, but I just felt it was getting too long. But I thought rather than just waste it and cut it all off, we could actually do something good with it. So I donated it to the Little Princess Trust, and I managed to raise, by now, 600 or maybe even over £600 to help make the wig. And when it was about to be cut, I was very nervous about it, but it's one of those things where you just want it done, and in lockdown there's not many exciting things that you can do, so it was something I could just do as something for a bit of fun. And I was sceptical of it actually looking good in the end, because I have been growing it for 5 years, so I got uncomfortable with it. I'd just forgotten about having short hair overall. But when it came down to it, it was something that I was really excited to do, and so here I am now with short hair, proper skater boy now. And if you would like to donate to Little Princess Trust, it will be just down below, and wish you all well through lockdown.
Have you ever wondered, as you sauntered through the windy old lanes of our lovely town, whose footsteps you're walking in?
Well, if so, you must be loving Mark Start's history feature. Today, he's talking about one of the reasons this famous home of ours was the centre of Western civilization.
No, it wasn't the last place to have a Woolworths. It's much, much bigger than that. Here's Mark in the studio to reveal all.
Hello, my name is Mark Start. I work in the Tourist Information Centre, but I'm also the mace bearer of Saffron Walden, as you can see from what I'm wearing today. So I'm going to talk about the birth of British democracy. Now, there's numerous sites that can claim the right to that title, and Saffron Walden is one of them. And it relates to an event in May 1647. Cromwell's New Model Army were camped in this area, and they had lots of grievances with the High Command. So they thought, how can we put our grievances to the officers and indeed Parliament? So what they did is they elected people from the rank and file of the army to represent them in St Mary's Church, Saffron Walden. And these were the first elected people to represent the ordinary rank and file of the army. And these demands were pushed up to Army High Command and indeed Cromwell himself.
There's only one thing that social media bullies really hate.
Want to know how to beat them?
Just watch this.
You won't get away with this.
Your words can't harm me.
Prison might not have destroyed you, but social media will. Right, boys? Let him have it.
Social media can't hurt me, because I don't care about your nasty comments, because I chose freedom. Choose freedom. Choose laughing on your sofa with your friends. Choose humanity over insanity. Choose walking your dog. Turn off your technology. Choose a good book. Choose poets over politicians. Choose fruit instead of junk food. Choose family. Choose a board game. Choose listening to your grandparents' stories. Choose laughing at the failures and blushing at your successes. Reject Hollywood and choose a film that inspires kindness. Choose photo albums. Reject cliche. Choose to be yourself. Choose to be proud of who you are and where you live. Choose an attention span longer than the 3-second meme. Choose courage. Choose to think for yourself. Say no to drugs and choose friendships that aren't toxic. Choose kicking the ball about in the park with your mates. Choose a good giggle with your mum. Choose to decorate your room with the things that you love. Choose a walk in the countryside. Write a letter. Paint a picture. Choose to be creative. Choose a random act of kindness. Give someone you love a hug and choose happiness. Choose a song that makes you smile. Choose your heritage for all its richness and diversity. Ignore the fashion industry and choose the clothes that you want to wear. Choose free speech. Choose to say what you feel and not what others want you to say. Choose life and choose freedom. So stick that in your algorithm, Mr. Zuckerberg. Now it's time to check out the bookshelf for a tome destined to be a canine classic.
It's the tourist information for our dogs. But don't take my word for it.
I'm here today to tell you about the new book for our dogs. I'm in it. Chloe's in it a bit, but not as much as me. And I really like it. I think you should buy it. Tennis balls out of my mind. For your dogs. I'm here to talk about For Your Dogs. On sale now in the Tourist Information Centre. I'm in it. Maybe with tennis balls, maybe without, I don't know.
My picture is in the book, but to show you I is not just pretty, here is a song. Oh, give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze and listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Set me up forever, but I ask you, please don't fence me in. I hope you liked my song and that you can see now that I is not just a pretty face. Please buy the book because it's really, really good. Thank you.
So, masks were useless. Now they're essential. You can gather in thousands to demonstrate on the streets, but you can't enjoy a little ice cream on the beach.
It's all a bit confusing, isn't it? Well, fear no more. Here's Boris Johnson to clarify the situation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After talking it through with the... Hang on. This is no use. That's better. Well, it has been decided, after consulting the scientists, that it is, after all, best if everyone wears masks. The death rate is approaching 0, so... Hang on, that doesn't make sense. Well, anyway, it's been decided that we should wear masks. You must wear a mask to the shop unless you work in the shop, in which case you don't have to. If you're in a restaurant, you don't need to wear a mask, but you must give your details. You must wear a mask on public transport, but if you're in an office, you don't need to wear a mask. If you're at a wedding, you should wear a mask and speak quietly. No singing. Also, if you're a young child, little whippersnapper, don't have to wear one. The virus is so damn clever, the old thing, because it can differentiate between shoppers and shop workers. And remember that the virus is so deadly, you might need a test to see if you've had it or not noticed. I'm glad that's cleared up any confusion. I think I would like to go for a little lie down. Anyway, toodle pip. Now here's Martin Porter, who, having shot almost everyone in town,
has put his sights on the local bird population.
Ooh.
Good afternoon, it's Martin from Mark's Arts Photography. Today's lesson will involve nature photography and a few tips and nice little fun facts about natural history and the role my knowledge of natural history had in taking these photographs. I am a firm believer that if you know and love your subject matter, it shows in your photographs. And also, if you do know animal behaviour, you've got a little idea of what that animal's going to do and you can be ready for it. First up, you don't have to go to Africa and photograph the big six. There are plenty of native animals in the UK. The European robin is a very good subject for photography to start with. They are very obliging to photograph. They have a lovely orange breast and have a very friendly matter. Robins in history followed wild boars around while they rooted for roots, and the birds learnt to find food this manner. So therefore, when humans arrived in the UK and in Europe, they followed the human beings around. That's why robins are very, very friendly, and that's why they're very easy to photograph. Another thing with robins that makes them very easy to photograph is they are incredibly aggressive to other birds. So they will be so busy singing, fighting and going about their business, you can approach a robin within metres. They are so easy. You'll find one in your garden, on your bird table, and they sing very loudly. You will see them. Now the photo I'm going to show you is of a robin only 3 metres away. I was actually photographing baboons in Payton Zoo, funnily enough, and this little fellow was singing behind me, 3 metres away, not far, no further than the camera is from me now. And I just turned round and I rattled this photo off. Now you'll see it singing its heart out, its beak's really wide open now, so easy to photograph. Beginner's tip, start with garden birds. So photo 2 is a grey squirrel. They are very easy targets for photographers. Food and friendliness makes them very, very brave. Now this photo also contains a very good lesson. Respect the animal and its space. Never go near, never frighten, never pick up, never touch them or pose with them. Respect them. Now, unfortunately in this photo I did not practice what I preached. You will see this is a baby squirrel. It's tiny, it's smaller than the palm of my hand, but I didn't take no notice. I went nearer and nearer and nearer. You will see its tail over the top of its head. Now, while it was doing this and flicking its tail, it was making itself look very big and it was chattering its teeth. It made for a good photograph, apart from a little bit of grass that goes across. But all animals warn you, and they will warn you 2-3 times. Now, I was so busy doing my photography, I ignored it. And I'm not a small lad, and all I can say is a jumping star jump was the only thing to stop that baby squirrel running up my legs. Now, as I say, it is an important lesson. Don't get too carried away. A baby squirrel may be harmless, but it could be a bull or it could be a cow. Just pay attention. They will let you know when they're not happy. Back off. Right, from 2 small native creatures to the leviathan from foreign lands, one of the biggest animals in the world. I took this image in Alaska last year. It is a mother humpback whale and its baby. Now, it does take incredible amount of travelling and money to get such shots. And believe it or not, such a huge giant animal is deceptively hard to photograph. But it is bucket list stuff. If you can go and do things like this, this is a photographer's dream. Now, this photo, I'm showing you this because it has an accidental meaning, a lucky accident. Photographers like lucky accidents. This is what makes photography great. Whales are incredibly intelligent. They look after their children like we do. They raise their children the same way with us, and it takes exactly the same amount of time. The water spout from the mother whale looks just like a human mother guiding her small child. I mean, I didn't plan it. It's an accident. I've given this photo a whole new meaning just by this. It symbolises, you know, the mother and the child and the love between the pair of them. Accidentally, the whale and the whale's calf and the phantom mother and her baby. When I put it in people's mind, it's, oh yeah, well done. How did you do that? Did you Photoshop that? No, not at all. It was an accident. Photographs are great for that.
He's like a modern day
Hong Kong Phooey!
During the day, you might find him conversing with the all and sundry at Fairycroft House.
But in his other life, he's a wild man of heavy rock.
He is,
of course, Tim Atkinson!
Here he is being interviewed by one of our documentary students.
Aidan McAlane for the Voices of Walden DVD.
What did you dream of becoming when you were a kid?
When I realised I wasn't going to play football for West Ham, I wanted to be a musician.
Who are your musical heroes?
Were and still are Lemmy from Motorhead. Motorhead became a massive influence on my life from when I was 9.
You've collaborated with various musicians, including Lemmy and Wurzel from Motorhead. How did that come about?
I used to stand at the stage door getting autographs. I met Wurzel when I was 14, for example, Lemmy when I was about the same age. My dad would be waiting, he'd be coming up to see how I was getting on. I said, no, not ready yet, and it was now 2 a.m. When I became a professional musician, etc., I got to know them.
When I see Tim there, it's like breath of life to me, you know.
Wurzel always wanted Lemmy to sing on one, and he said he would, which was brilliant, but then Lemmy got ill. Wurzel then passed away. God rest both their souls, but you know, he was true to his word. 11 months before he died, he did it. To actually then have him singing on our song was a really unbelievable thing.
What is your greatest musical achievement today?
Well, I've played at Glastonbury twice. I've been on sort of top 5 records in Europe. But personally, the thing that's meant most to me is this thing I'm doing now, because if you'd have said to me as an 11-year-old, if you could record with Motorhead, you know, you have them on your be in a band with Wurzel, I wouldn't have believed that in a million years, and you know, it wouldn't even thought to be possible.
What was it like stepping out on stage for the first time?
I was sick in the toilets before. It was in the first gig I ever did was in Epping. I wasn't allowed into the room where the bands were playing because I was only 13. The rest of them, who were a lot older than me, they were all sort of 18, 19, 20, had to explain that I was actually the bass player. Yeah, it was terrifying. I really enjoyed it. Shortly after that, we played at the Square in Harlow, which sadly is no longer here.
Tell us about the new album.
It's taken a long time to finish because obviously, sadly, Wurzel passed away and other people have been ill and then passed away. Stuff that me and Wurzel have written. Phil Campbell from Motorhead's on it. Bruce Foxton from The Jam is on it. Whitfield Crane from Ugly Kid Joe is on there. Lee Richards from a band called Godsmack, another heavy rock band, he's on there. We've got Fast Eddie Clarke, of course Wurzel's on everything, and Lemmy.
What would you like to see happen to develop young talent in the town?
I think if we can get them all off the Xboxes and all that stuff somehow would be a start. It'd be good to have more places that people could actually play, or just space to express themselves. It doesn't have to be music, you know, it could be all sorts of creative stuff where they can just express themselves.
What advice would you give to someone waiting to be successful in the music business?
It is tough, and if you're not cut out for lots of rejection and failure and people saying go and get a proper job, you know, I ended up doing a music degree later on, which are brilliant, but of course there's all these people that come out and thinking they're suddenly going to be Robbie Williams, and they're not. And within a few months, 20% of them are doing other jobs. You know, within 2 years, probably 95% of them are not doing anything in music. Let me always just say, you know, if you don't give up, you can't fail, which is very, very true, because if you haven't stopped, you just haven't got there yet.
When Fairycroft House was threatened with closure, you stepped in and saved it. Tell us why.
This building had become very special to me. I'd been involved with a music project with the council here for 10, 12 years. But then as you sort of got to learn more about the history of it, you realise how it had been a special place for people when they were kids who were now in their 50s, because it had been a youth centre since 1951.
What plans do you have for Ferrycroft?
Well, we want to turn the hall into a proper venue for all sorts of music and drama, comedy, everything, so it can be a venue that the town really can be proud of. We want to really upgrade the recording studios. We want to set up a radio station. We want to have a coffee bar that's up and running that the radio station is a part of, so people can see the radio station in operation while they're having their coffee. We want to really have some fantastic video editing facilities and studio for filming. Really expand the visual arts side of the building, with painting, lots of classes here.
Tell us something about the history of Ferrycroft.
Ferrycroft House was built in 1830. When it was all finished, it was a family home. Various different people have lived here. It was then at some point owned by a guy called Joshua Clark, who was the mayor of Saffron Walden 10 times. In the war, it was the Air Raid Warden's headquarters. And then after the war, this was a police office. So this was the first county high school for one term. Really from sort of the very early 50s until when it shut in 2014, it was a youth centre. Well, in 1978, there was a festival in the car park, which wasn't a car park then, it was all grass. And Nick Turner from Hawkwind headlined it. We've had lots and lots of people that have gone on to music careers from here. People like Imogen Heap, who's a Grammy winner. Rowan Robertson was a young lad, about 17, 18 years old, coming here, playing music in his band, in a local band. Big heavy metal fan, loved the American band Dio. They sacked their guitarist. He sent a cassette off to Los Angeles, got flown out for an audition, he got the job. And that literally was from being here, he was suddenly in LA. We've had authors here. There's a lady, Jo Nadine. She wrote the Rachel Riley diaries, and she based them all on her life in Saffron Walden in the 80s. The community centre that's in the books is Ferrycroft. I really want to try and inspire the next group of people because it's quite a magical building.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
I should make it clear that some of the views expressed on Lockdown TV are those of mine and mine alone. I'm taken to react to the hypocrisy surrounding the lockdown measures. After weeks of discourse concerning the Black Lives Matter campaign, I find it incredible that when a black doctor states that she has found a cure for COVID, she has her videos removed from social media and finds herself vilified in the press? Should we not at least listen and investigate what she has to say? I mean, it could free us from lockdown, save lives and save billions of pounds. Why are we not permitted the freedom to hear her out? Well, let's have a listen to the lady now, and you make your own mind up.
I'm upset. Why I'm upset is that I see people that cannot breathe. I see parents walk in, I see diabetics sit in my office knowing that this is a death sentence and they can't breathe. And I hug them and I tell them it's going to be okay, you're going to leave. And we treat them and they leave. None has died. So if some fake science, some person sponsored by all these fake pharma companies comes out and say, oh, we've done studies and they found out that it doesn't work, I can tell you categorically it's fake science. I want to know who is sponsoring that study. I want to know who is behind it. Because there is no way I can treat 350 patients and counting and nobody is dead and they all did better. And then you're going to tell me that you treated 20 people, 40 people and it didn't work. I'm a true testimony. So I came here to Washington, D.C. to tell America, nobody needs to get sick. This virus has a cure. It is called hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and Zithromax.
When creative Walden made the film Zombie Occupation, one of our first challenges was to find talented young artists to make up the zombies.
Well, we struck gold. Led by Grace Morehouse, our team of makeup professionals really created something special.
Just
watch this.
It's racing up the charts.
It's sold out on iTunes and Amazon.
It is, of course, the one, the only, the Jamie Oliver Pots and Pans
song. Recorded in this very building.
So brace yourselves for some musical history.
Oh, it comes Jamie, little baby, knows a thing or two about pots and pans. Cooking for the missus, you sort you out some dishes. When it comes to cooking, he's a man with a pan. So roll up, stroll up, get your plate piled up. Jamie's on the cooker, you can't go wrong. He's very, very wealthy, gonna get you healthy. Listen very carefully to the words of the song.
Ladies and gentlemen, Herberts and Gooseberries, welcome to the lowdown on the sugar busting showdown!
Despite the competition, he rattles politicians, loves a bit of banter in the kitchen, he's boss. Chopping off your rations with aromatic passion, he doesn't give a wiggle or a shake or a toss. A little bit chubby, but never call him subby. Sorting out the money, he's as sharp as a fox. You love a bit of flavour, so do yourself a favour. Stop and have a butcher when he shows on the box. So roll up, stroll up, get your plate piled up. Jamie's at the cooker, you can't go wrong. He's very, very wealthy, gonna get you
healthy. So listen very carefully to the words of the song.
There's no doubt about it, the lockdown has been a tough going.
The stress and the strain can become overwhelming at times.
This, coupled with the heightened expectations at school and the relentless pressure to adhere to ever-changing social trends, it's no wonder so many young people are feeling out of sorts.
That's why it's really worth paying attention to our next feature from Mark Newey. If you have any more questions or queries, please check out his website.
Hi guys. Well, this may, by the sounds of it, possibly be the last of the videos for now. Sorry to hear that, because the work you guys have been doing is absolutely phenomenal. It'll come back, I'm sure it will. Anyway, what I wanted to do on that note was talk about helping you find your way forwards in life, and particularly out of, the lockdown, all that sort of thing. In many ways, terrible to say, but you guys are the biggest losers out of all of what's happening. The stopping of your school career, university career, just terrible, really. And it's caused an incredibly uncertain future for you. In many ways, it was already uncertain, because the career ladders and things that certainly I had when I started sort of 40, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, not that old, there was may not have a job for life, but you'd have a safe career. Well, those sort of things don't exist anymore. So there is this uncertain future for you guys. Things will always work themselves out, but the key is to accept that uncertain future. And the way to get through it is just to ride the waves of change, which means I hope there will be no pressure from school, no extra pressure from school to get the grades, or from parents for that matter, because you just need to settle gradually back into school life, university life, without the added pressure. And, a lot of your generation are angry with the baby boomers like me. I'm at the end of the baby boomers, and I get it. I can see why. The certainty isn't there, the housing ladder, all these things that we had are not there. However, this is a really important point. If there's one thing that the coronavirus and the lockdown has shown us, it's forced us onto our backside. It's forced us to look at life again. What do we want out of life? And actually, the vast majority of people want a slower and less stressful life. Hopefully that's filtered through to your generation as well. But modern life had just got so toxic, so fast, so stressful, so anxiety making, and actually so few people were actually happy, because we got sucked down a rabbit hole of a really demanding and toxic and too fast life. Life is a marathon with the occasional burst of a sprint. It's not a constant sprint, and too many people have been living life as a constant sprint, and that has forced itself through in the pressure for you guys to get the academic results, even if you go on to follow a path that's completely irrelevant to the works that you've been doing at school or even at uni. So the COVID life situation has shown us that we need to look differently about life. So that old pressure to get on the career ladder, earn loads of money, have a big house, have a big car, we need to step back from that, because that hasn't made people happy. So that's a huge message for you. If to redirect where you see your future, a simpler life, a slower life will make you happier. So there are two really big pieces of advice for you moving forwards. One is everything we went through in the last video about self-esteem. How you feel about yourself is absolutely crucial, and there is no reason why you're having to listen to other people that are bullying you or mocking you. They're not your people. There is no reason why you shouldn't feel proud and good about who you are. So self-esteem, really focus on that. And the people that do love you, by the way, will love you for who you are. So no mask, no pretense, no nothing. Just be you. That's the first thing. And the second thing is a career advice. When I do go into schools, I'm often asked for career advice. And it's really simple. My career advice is, for God's sake, do something you love. That's it. Don't worry about the money will find you. And at your stage of life, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids to look after, you don't have the pressures that adults have. Now is the time to get into something that you love. There's a Chinese proverb that says, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's something our generation has completely ignored. And it is really, really crucial. So as you move forwards, find what you love. Make money, make a career, make a living out of what you love. It's the most important piece of advice. You will be happy if you're doing what you love. So if you think about it, there's kind of a magic meeting point, like a Venn diagram. I don't know if you remember that from your maths, your GCSE. A 3-point Venn diagram. There's 3 things that are really important. One is do something you love. Number 2 is do something you're good at. And number 3, and in many ways at this situation, the least important, is do something whereby you can earn money. You will find a way of earning money out of doing something you love. That is the opportunity that the internet has given you guys that we never had. So just to help you work some of that out, I've asked Paul to include a workbook, a small workbook on an exercise I get my clients to do, and it's about being dumped on a desert island. And the way the exercise is set up, it forces you to think through what your contribution could be, what you could actually make a living out of and enjoy doing. So I hope you enjoy that and I hope you get something from that. If you need further help, please do visit the headucate.me website. And as I've said before, there's a 12-week programme specifically called the COVID Life Programme for the current situation. And then in August, we will be launching an app which takes all of the experience I've had over the last 20 years with my 3,000 odd clients and puts it into an online programme. And it takes you from stress, anxiety and depression through to self-awareness, self-esteem and self-empowerment. It gives you the ability to go and live your life. Anyway guys, carry on doing the wonderful work you're doing and hopefully we'll meet again soon.
Talking of the future, here's Emily Wasty with a rather apt poem.
The future. When most people think of the future, they think of time travel and flying cars, or robots conquering the world, or streets being made of solid gold bars. But for me, my ideal future would be full of forest greens and sea blues. We would be a peaceful planet with old landmarks and scenery that we could not bear to lose. There will still be polar bears and penguins living in a snow-covered wonderland. There will still be ancient pyramids and monuments towering tall over the sand. Humans will work together peacefully, hand in hand. No wars or hunger would wash over the land. All this could happen if our generation take action now. There are things we can do to help. We all know how.
If you love a little movie sing-song with an emotional core,
then stay tuned as Anna Percival runs you through some of her favourite musicals.
Okay, this is scene 18, shot number 1, take 1, and action.
The first movie, or movie musical I've chosen, is a film called Rent. It's a movie that's based off a stage musical, which is based off an opera called La Bohème. Rent follows a year in the life of 8 New Yorkers, beginning on Christmas Eve 1989 and concluding on Christmas Eve 1990. These 8 include aspiring film and documentary maker Mark and his roommate Roger, a musician whose former drug use led him to contracting HIV, their friend Tom Collins, a gay man who also has HIV, and his transvestite lover Angel. We also meet Mimi, an exotic dancer and heroin addict who has contracted HIV by sharing needles. Maureen, a performance artist, and Mark's ex-lover, who she broke up with for her new girlfriend Joanne. And finally Benny, who has sold his soul by marrying into money and is threatening to evict his old friends Mark and Roger if they can't pay the rent. One of the things I like about this film is that there's a pretty wide range of characters, all very different to each other in terms of gender, race, sexual orientation, family, job, etc. And I think most people, if they were asked to create a story using such varied characters, wouldn't be able to do it, especially as the connections between them have to be significant and meaningful. Then I start thinking about my own friends, and the relationships in the film become more realistic, because I have male and female friends, friends of different races, one who's finished her geology degree, another studying nursing, another doing interior architecture and design. And so I think it makes sense that these characters show a whole scope of jobs or problems or just lifestyles, but then have these small things that join them together. It's a bit like art imitating life. The predominant theme in Rent is HIV and how the characters are affected by it. And I'm not an expert on the subject, but I do think they managed to convey the seriousness and reality of living with HIV without it overshadowing the parts of the film that are supposed to be more light-hearted. That in itself is important too, because I think some people do get uncomfortable talking about it, and that there's still a lot of stigma around the subject. But this shows that you can still have a fulfilled life and that the world doesn't stop spinning. My next choice is Rock of Ages, a stage musical followed by the movie released in 2012. Unlike Rent, none of the songs featured in either the musical or the movie are original to those productions, but are instead some of the most popular classic rock songs. We travel back to 1987, and small-town girl Sherry arrives in Los Angeles and meets Drew, a bar worker who dreams of being a rock star. She joins Drew waiting tables at fictional rock club, The Bourbon, which is holding a massive farewell gig for superstar Stacey Jacks. Rolling Stone reporter Constance Sack scores an interview with Jacks before his big gig and sees through his bad boy rock and roll persona. But vengeful wife to the mayor and conservative values campaigner Patricia Whitmore is trying to shut down the sinful club, much to the distress of old school club owner Dennis and his assistant Lonnie. This has been one of my favourite movie musicals for a really long time, since my early teens, and the main part that attracted me to it was the music used in the film. At that time especially, I was really getting into rock music, and in particular classic rock, because I was starting to find a lot of the modern music quite repetitive and, I suppose, unoriginal. So to then come across a musical where the soundtrack consisted of music by bands I was really starting to like was pretty exciting for me. In a way, I feel that Rock of Ages stands as a testament to how diverse and timeless songs from that era are. There are 25 musical numbers throughout the film, all originally written by different bands or artists, and yet there's a song for each situation: love, breakups, lifestyle, even arguing against rock music itself, which fits seamlessly into the story, and most of them, if not all, people know. Even younger viewers, like myself when the film first came out, know the big hits, which isn't something that I think could be said for today's music. Although some might consider the storyline to be predictable and somewhat cheesy, the classic boy meets girl scenario, it's very easygoing and fun to watch, your typical feel-good film. The bit that I love best is the big grand finale that follows the rom-com stereotype where the boy gets the girl, everything turns out okay, and they finish by singing an uplifting showstopper. In this case, Journey's Don't Stop Believing. Yes, it's probably a very cliché ending, but really, I think it's the ending that everyone wants to see. For my final movie musical, and strongly hinting at saving the best till last, I've chosen Hamilton. Technically, this isn't a movie musical, but seeing as Disney Plus have recently added to their collection a live recording of the Broadway show, I'm going to make an exception and go with it anyway. Noted as being the biggest theatre phenomenon of the last decade, Hamilton came into being when award-winning composer Lin-Manuel Miranda took a holiday, packed a book on Alexander Hamilton, and began to imagine his life as a musical. Fast forward to 2015, and Hamilton, an American story, is bringing history to life, as it follows the forgotten founding fathers' rise from poverty to power, through revolution and politics, marriage and scandal, all ending with a life or death duel with his first friend. Ever since I first listened to the soundtrack, Hamilton became my all-time favourite musical. I can remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when I first heard it. Sitting on my living room floor, scrolling through YouTube instead of doing my history homework, and the first song came up as recommended. I thought I'd give it a try, and then I ended up listening to the whole soundtrack several times over. From that point on, I was obsessed. So obviously it was the songs that captured my interest and kept me captivated for so long, which I think is an indication to how well written and performed they are, to be able to keep someone interested in the show for several years, 4 to be exact, without being able to watch it, a show which is equally about the visual as the audio. I would imagine that a lot of people would be hesitant to watch Hamilton if it hadn't become as big a hit as it has, because it's usually described as a hip-hop musical telling the story of an American founding father, which I think could be seen as quite distinct interests. I mean, generally, I don't listen to hip-hop, and not being American or a historian, I've never had a particular interest in the founding fathers. Not to mention, the combination of the two sounds pretty odd. However, Miranda's clever lyrics, with references from modern rap to Shakespeare, and distinct musical style, a mix of hip-hop, rap, jazz, etc., have managed to attract younger viewers and non-theatre goers, and really makes it feel like it couldn't work any other way. And if that wasn't enough, for a non-American such as myself, there's definitely an English connection. Although portrayed as the bad guy, and never on stage for long, King George III has some show-stealing scenes, with songs that are more like the typical musical theatre numbers. With his superior temperament and comedic quips, along with heavy indicators to his madness, it's easy to see why King George is a crowd favourite, but not necessarily my favourite. Actually, it's difficult for me to choose one part in particular that I like better than the rest, because I love everything about it. So instead there's one moment that I find particularly stirring, and it's the last few seconds of the show. Throughout the musical, Hamilton talks of creating a legacy and his story being told, and after he dies, it's his wife, Eliza, who makes sure he's honoured and remembered. In these remaining seconds, she walks to the front of the stage and gasps, and the theory is that she's broken the fourth wall, seen the audience, and realised that over 2 centuries later, her husband's legacy is being honoured.
I see you every time, and when my time is up, have I done enough? Will they tell my story? Oh, I can't wait to see you again. It's only a matter of time. Will they tell your story? Who dies, who tells your story? Will they tell your story? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
We have had an absolute blast on Lockdown TV.
And we hope you have too.
Some of the things we got up to is just unbelievable.
We're running around the town at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, that was really early.
Yeah.
Being in jail with James White.
He was a good sport.
He was a good sport, yeah.
Climbing out of the second-storey window at Fairycroft House.
With your dummy under your
With
arm.
the dummy under my arm.
Phyllis presenting the weather.
Phyllis on the weather. Love Phyllis. And you getting pied by Sam Smith.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Have you heard from him?
No, I haven't heard of Dickie Bird. So, it's incredible. We've done 8 hours of TV. I mean, who in their right mind would let 2 Wallies run a TV show? Well, Fairycroft House did, so all complaints to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the meantime...
Our bloopers. Now, as you can expect, with Wallies like us, things didn't always go to plan. Here's a few of those occasions.
Don't they know there's a war on? Well, it's not an actual war, really, but...
We're talking about the three.
No! My beautiful locks in order before I do this lovely interview with the handsome young Mr. Bellany. Can't see me slips, can ya?
Feature.
God damn. Why do they need to come from anywhere?
The old girl can see me now.
Feature. And Alfie's music section. Alfie's muesli section. These all healthy breakfasts.
The ones with blueberries are my favourite. Makes complete sense. Yeah. It was confusing me the last 7 times I've done it.
I can't believe it. I didn't choose the Skuck's life. The Skuck's life chose me. Look at the state of me. And cut. There was 2 plates.
There was 2 plates.
Yeah.
One
fell down. Look, the other one's still got my glasses in it.
And then it ended up as world domination.
Anxiety. Because I can't speak.
Teeth.
Teeth are good.
That's going to cut into the bloopers, isn't it? Teeth. You see what tooth? Yeah. Just that paradise, gorgeous.
The plague.
Sam with the plague.
I never thought of that. It's brilliant, isn't it?
One of them.
It's first thing. I wonder what that's like. Let's have a look. On your knees.
Oh, on my knees.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the one you're using.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're not from anywhere.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But
we're going to now reveal table.
It's not over till Matt Sainsbury swings.
Wait.
Matt Sainsbury sings.
Oh look, there we go. Look, there's a Zoom message coming through.
Hi, my name is Shane.
Well, you know Shane, he's like an amazing YouTuber. Got all these incredible videos on YouTube. In fact, I think we'll put the
link in the
put the link in the description
below.
underneath. So check him out. It's really, really good.
Well, I thought you'd never ask, Shane. What is on our desk?
Let's have a look.
First up, we've got this wonderful V for Vendetta mask. Absolutely brilliant film. And Natalie Portman's performance in it is mind-blowing. And the reason I wanted to shave my head off as a kid. Paul beat me to it, though. We also have our film that we made called Zombie Occupation. A book from the Tourist Information for our dogs. And a fantastic album by our very own Tim Atkinson's Leader of Down, Cascade into Chaos. If you look closely in the sleeve, you'll find our names on it.
Worth even more money because of that. And we've got the old COVID 1984 book, which has been a staple from this lockdown. We've got one there from John Steinbeck, The Mice and Men.
One of my favourites growing up.
He's a fantastic author. And we have got the Teenage Revolution CD. Now, very sad news. They are no longer together, but they have left a lasting legacy of their rock and roll, and they're also featured on the film which Alfie was talking about a minute ago. So, that's what's on our desk.
What's on your desk? What's
If there's anyone who has truly embodied the spirit of lockdown resistance, it must be Matt Swainsbury and his ensemble of young talented musicians. Here he is with the house band playing the Killers classic, Mr. Brightside.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab. While he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. Now they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head. But she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. And I just can't look, it's killing me. I'm taking control. Jealousy turning saints into the sea, swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I missed the bright side. I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. Now they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head. But she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. 'Cause I just can't look, it's killing me. I'm taking control. Jealousy turning saints into the sea, swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I missed the bright side. I
So, we've come to the end, unfortunately. But before we go, I'd really just like to say a big thanks to Tim and everybody at Faircroft House who opened up for us during lockdown and kept the whole thing going.
We'd also really like to thank everyone that's contributed to Lockdown TV. We couldn't have dreamt that 4 months ago we'd have 8 hours of top class, top quality, top bins television.
And it stands as a testament to the talent in this town and surrounding area. You really showed the world that you have the courage to be creative, and we're proud of every single one of you. So, carry on with all your creative endeavours, your music, your poems, your drama, your dancing, and let's keep this whole thing rolling. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Alfie, darling Alfie, please forgive me. It only meant to be a bit of a laugh. It all started out by just bashing people on Facebook. Then it turned into world domination, and it all went so horribly wrong. Please, Alfie, please find it in your lovely big heart to forgive me.